offensive blast for Miles and Cam.
Yeah, it was great from a team standpoint, getting 19 offensive rebounds, but, Jakari ability to get 8 rebounds in 15 minutes, Cam getting a double-double. But even in the first half, like Miles got on the glass, CJ had back-to-back offensive rebounds right there. Obviously, Trey had 8 rebounds, but, plays the majority of the game. But I thought our bench was great. Willie gave us, some minutes there in the first half that was very, very productive. And that's what we needed. You got to have that effort. I thought we had some shots that we really could have been in a great position at halftime if we could have made some shots. So we got some pretty quality shots that didn't go down. But anytime you have fewer turnovers and more rebounds, especially at that much, you're going to put yourself in a pretty good position.
Going back to the second half of that UCLA game, offensive rebounding has been a weapon now on a few occasions. Any reason why that has been more of a weapon in the last couple of weeks?
Just, more sense of urgency, getting to the end of the year, just kind of understanding what it does for you. And, guys just finding your way. You're not going to have, when guys come off the bench for you, they're not going to always be a consistent scorer. They don't have the same minutes as everybody else has that starts a game usually. But you can be consistent on the defensive end. You can be consistent rebounding. And that's where they gave us a spark more than anything today.
I think you had scored 14-5 after you started offense, defense, and Trey. What's the science behind the offense, defense substituting with the defense and control?
Yeah, just trying to get some size in there with Willie against their big guy, and just to give that from a defensive standpoint, and it also gives him a break. I think when you can give him a break, it really helps him. But we'll also give him a break before 2, 3, 4 minute stretches will kill us. And so like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't sometimes with that situation. But that's dealing with a great player. Like you always reflect on something and look back as a coach. There's always something in the game you're like, man, I wish I would have done this differently or played this guy a little bit less or this guy a little bit more. But the thing that you always pick up on is a pattern, good or bad. What's the pattern here? If he needs that time, then you got to be able to give him that time. But you got to be functional when he's out. And so we just try to go offense, defense. Well, if the ball doesn't stop, right, and there's no whistles, like you're going to get your defensive guy on offense and vice versa. So he can be on offense, and then we go to defense and he gets another foul. But he can get a foul on the offense. He can get a foul rebounding. He can get a foul, So, just trying to be logical and play to the highest percentage while getting the break.
So why did you spend well at the end of the half? You had a timeout. You could have been trying back in for that.
Because I thought he could get on the offensive glass and get a foul. I thought he could get one just being aggressive because he drives the ball from the middle. So I just thought it made, from a risk-reward standpoint, I thought there was more risk. And sometimes you get in the game and you got to feel the game through as a coach. And there's risk involved. I mean, hey, we're going to stay with it and play, and you have 2 fouls early in the second half, you get 3. You got to play through it. You got to have a feel if you're losing the game right there. Sometimes you make a good call there, and sometimes you don't. But that's you just try to play off your experiences. But more than anything, it's the experience of that person. And if we don't have a high trust. I have a high trust level when it comes to him as a player. I don't have a high trust level when it comes to him, whether he fouls me or doesn't. But there's a difference there.
So was that by design? You were able to get to that spot on the floor, 5-minute switch. Yes, it was something you had on the guard.
Braden had a pull up and didn't take it. So when you don't take what they give you, now you're stuck. And then Will was able to get that. He got the lob over the top about 3 minutes before that. Then he was able to get that at the end of the half. But Braden had to take the pull up. You got to take it when you give you. When they play that deep drop, you got to take that shot.
So was that a lob there for that last basket?
I didn't think so. I thought it was a good shot.
Okay.
But it could have been.
Will said I had to ask Braden. I haven't had a chance to ask Braden. So.
There you go.
Well, I imagine it's harder than hell when you don't play for 10, 12 games in a row. And Will's kept his right mindset up into this, so that's just from his culture. This doesn't happen if he doesn't have that mindset.
Yeah. Will's been professional. It's frustrating. When we lost Daniel, we stayed with that for a while, and we just felt like we had to do things that was best for us offensively, and that was Trey and the pocket passes and the short rolls, but we had to do it at the 5. And whether that's fair or not, that's the decision that we made. We ended up the 7th best offense in the country, but there's no doubt that he helps us there with his ultimate size. from the defensive standpoint.
As Caleb got better, just guarding the perimeter, they got him matched up on guards twice in a row, I think, and probably are salivating, and he causes 2 turnovers.
Right. Well, they cross-matched us. That's why he didn't play as much. And so, like, Cam playing well, and then cross-matching. So they put their center on Caleb, and then they flipped it there. So we went there, and then they wouldn't do that with Cam. So that's why you saw us starting the second half. That's why you saw more. And Cam was productive, right? But no, Caleb's really good at switching ball screens. For a guy his size, 6'10", 230, to be able to move his feet, he doesn't move that with his feet.
Is that why the short roll was opening up more in the second half then?
Yes.
Just in general, does spacing win out even more in tournament play with tournament prep and tournament teams?
Right. Yeah, you have to be able to put them in a bind. And then we think like we got a guy that can do it. Fletch is not going to get as many attempts when they stay with him and they're going 2-man. They're trying to stay 2-on-2 with that deep drop. So now they don't have to help off shooters. That's what a deep drop does. Right? So now you got to take that pull up. You got to be able to get to the rim some. Then you got to get those delayed drives, those flips, those passes that he makes at the end. You got to be able to make those plays and make those catches and those finishes, because that's what's there, because they're staying home with everybody else. If you go back and look, Fletcher's volume of shooting is lower than we play people in the deep drop.